Today on CityCast DC, a devastating crash between a passenger plane and a blackhawk helicopter has everyone's eyes on the Potomac. Planes went down at 9 p.m. last night. Rescue efforts are underway, and it's unclear how many passengers, if any, survived. As of 5 a.m. this morning, here is everything we know about the crash. Today is Thursday, January 30th. I'm Michael Schaefer, and here's what DC is talking about. I'm here with my CityCast colleague, Priyanka Tilve, who's been watching all night. Let's just start from the beginning. For someone who went to sleep at 8:59 last night, what happened?
So DC police reported that this collision happened at 8:53 last night. An American Airlines flight from Wichita collided in midair with a military helicopter over the Potomac River right near DCA, right near the airport. So basically, if you look at the map, there's this thing called the Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, and that's on one side of the river, and then DCA is on the other side of the river, and it appears like the two planes crashed kind of right between those two landmarks and then fell into the Potomac. The passenger plane split in half, apparently. If you watch the videos, and there are a lot of videos circulating, people posting on social media, having seen this happen from different vantage points around the city. The main one that I saw was from Kennedy Center. But it's really harrowing. And it's a huge air tragedy in this area, the biggest one in like 43 years.
So it's pitch black. It was night. It's very cold outside. Mm-hmm. And these aircraft, the helicopter and the plane, they both went straight into the water?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge.
Because there was of the videos I saw, there was nothing showing I have a memory of this crash into the Potomac in 1982. Mm. Plane was sort of floating there, and rescuers were going out to the sort of get survivors. But there was no video that I saw circulating of the plane in the water. So it appears they just went straight underwater.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure. It's so dark. The videos are so dark. And even the emergency responders that are out there right now, there's 300 emergency responders looking for victims, survivors of the crash. They're describing this as there was the DC Fire EMS chief said the river is a big black spot right now. So I think that's part of the story. The fact that it's so dark that we don't even really know what happened yet. We don't really know exactly what the wreckage looks like unless you're there.
Do we know? Well, obviously the airliner was flying to DCA on a commercial route. Mm-hmm. Do we know where the Army helicopter was going from to, what it was doing?
I'm not entirely sure where exactly it had taken off from, but this helicopter was based out of Fort Belvoir, and it was on a training flight. So that's kind of all we know about the circumstances about what contributed to the crash. We know that this is a really busy airport. We know that there have been close calls for crashes in the last few years, but really have very little information about what exactly contributed to this crash specifically.
So who do we know was on these planes? The airliner was a Canadair regional jet, which is not a big airliner, but still has a lot of people on it.
Yeah, the first headlines were saying small plane, and then when I heard that there were 64 people, 60 passengers and 4 crew on this plane, that's bigger than I'd been expecting. That's a lot of lives. And then there were 3 service members on board the Blackhawk helicopter that crashed as well. And we have no idea if there are any survivors at this point. They found 19 bodies. 19 bodies have been recovered, but no survivors as of yet, again, as of 5 a.m. this morning. I guess we also know that there were U.S. and Russian figure skaters reportedly on board.
So there was this big rush of first responders there. You said 300 on the scene. Metro had warming buses for rescue workers who are down there. It's obviously in the middle of winter. It's cold. Who is sort of running this rescue response? That I believe the whole river is DC territory, even though the airport obviously is Virginia.
Yeah. And the airport is managed by the federal government. But yeah, as far as I know, DC Fire and EMS were the first responders. Bowser has been there. The MPD police chief has been there pretty much all night. There was a press conference from DCA with all of those figures. Though the National Department transportation head was also at the scene. But yeah, they had a press conference around 1 a.m. There's going to be another press conference this morning at 7:30. For the one that they had in the middle of the night, NBC reporter Mark Seagraves, who is a friend of the podcast, he was on the news saying that this was the most somber he has ever seen the mayor.
So can we back up? It's very, very early yet, but what do we know about how this happened? There is audio from air traffic control that has been going around.
Yeah. Honestly, it's not super clear, even from that air traffic control. The tower at DCA clears the plane to land, the passenger plane, advises the helicopter to watch out for traffic, and then you hear an alarm, and then you hear them react to the collision. There's some gasps, and then both planes fall into the river. That's it. That's all we know.
So we're going to learn a lot more, obviously, but in the meantime, just let's get some context here as far as today goes. What is this? The airport, I assume, is going to be closed for a bit.
Yeah, it's closed until 11 a.m.
It's not going to make anyone's commute easier. Not that these are very important in the grand scheme of things. What do we know about sort of what people in D.C. who are trying to go about their regular lives can expect today?
Yeah, I mean, things are evolving so fast. When I went to bed, it looked like DCA wasn't going to be open until Friday morning. Seems they've pulled that back a little bit. So yeah, DCA will, as of now, DCA is supposed to be open again at 11 a.m. on Thursday. The entrances to the airport, including the bridge from GW Parkway to the airport, have been closed. I assume that those kinds of closures are going to contribute to a lot of traffic along that route. You know, like if you're trying to come in from Virginia to DC from that end of the city, I'm imagining commutes are going to be crazier than normal. And I mean, we know that Trump is trying to get everyone back into the office right now. So I don't know if traffic has gotten a little bit more hectic from that already. There was also a total ground stop at the airport overnight. So flights that were supposed to be coming to DCA were being diverted to Dulles. A lot of flights were also canceled and will probably be rescheduled for today. So I don't know if that's going to mean more airport traffic over the course of the day, as well as in like literal people arriving or leaving from the airport, which also contributes to traffic on the roads.
Do they shift these flights coming in to Dulles or BWI or something?
Yeah, a lot of flights were diverted to Dulles. Metro did say they were running extra Silver Line trains overnight in response to try and help, I guess, mitigate traffic on the actual freeways. But I don't know. I know, like, if my flight were diverted to Dulles when I was expecting to come into DCA, and this is the city that I kind of landed to, I think I'd want to get home as fast as possible, and that means taking a car, taking the road.
All right, so we have done episodes about the expansion of DCA or changing the number of flights and where the flights can come to. There's always sort of a lot of conversation. I assume eventually there'll be more of this about DCA being a particularly busy airport. The runway 1 there, I don't know if that's where this flight was going to, is the busiest runway in the country.
Yeah, 800 daily takeoffs and landings. It's not the runway at the heart of the story. The flight was supposed to land on runway 33, according to the Federal Aviation Authority reports, but it still just speaks to how busy this airport is, and I guess how busy the air traffic control tower is if they're navigating 800 daily takeoffs and landings on just one runway every single day.
Right. And these, they just as with any plane crash, there was all these retired pilots being interviewed on the cable nets, and they all mentioned that DCA, you got to fly sort of down the narrow river, and there's a lot of like exclusion areas which you're not allowed to fly over. The DCA is the most challenging airport.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but I can imagine. It does seem like it'd be a tricky one.
Everyone's mind went to, including mine, because I was like, I don't know, 8 or something, to this crash in 1982. I remember it
Oh,
was
yeah, the Air Florida one. Yeah, please
right.
tell me about that one.
It was a snow day. I mean, we had to go home from school early because of the snow. And this, in the middle of a snowstorm, this happened. The plane hit the 14th Street bridge, went into the water. Like I said, there was sort of real time rescue going on. Some people were saved, many were not. But that is, for all of the talk of DCA being a challenging airport, that's the last DCA plane incident.
Yeah, everything that I'm reading is saying that what just happened last night was the worst air tragedy in DC since that Air Florida incident that you just talked about. And then before that, there was an incident in 1949. All 55 people, so passengers and crew, who were aboard an Eastern Airlines DC-4 flight. That was a flight from Boston to DC. It crashed with a fighter aircraft that was being test flown by the Bolivian Air Force. And yeah, all 55 passengers there died. But clearly, this is not something that happens regularly here. We had 1949, then 1982, and now 2025. Yeah, I mean, so clearly this isn't something, like, not that any city is ever really equipped for a tragedy, but this isn't something that DC is used to by any means. And I think that's part of why it's contributing to so much shock in the city right now.
All right, Priyanka, thank you. I guess we'll keep watching this.
Yeah, we'll have more updates on this in our Friday news round tomorrow. We're also we'd originally planned another episode to air today, as you can imagine, about Trump's offer to buy out federal workers. We're covering the impact on the local culture and economy, and also just how federal workers are thinking through this and reacting. So we'll have that episode for you as well today, dropping around noon. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that upcoming coverage.
All right. Thanks, Priyanka. And that is all for today here on CityCast DC. We'll be back at noon with our regularly scheduled programming, which is a pretty good episode about the buyouts and the fate of the city economy if all these federal jobs go away. And we'll have more news from around the city tomorrow. Bye.